Hi, it's Karen with Living Our Dream Homestead, where today we're going to be making homemade applesauce from scratch, and then we're going to can it. Now, I do have an apple orchard here on our property, but my apples are only about maybe between 2 to 3 years old, and I don't really have that many apples, but 3 or 4. And this recipe calls for 7 pounds of apples. I ended up going to a local apple orchard in town where I could actually pick the apples from the tree, and then another variety I bought in the market there. So the first thing I did was I decided to use 2 different varieties of apples. I'm using Jonathan and I'm using Cortland, and I'm kind of doing somewhat of an equal amount and mixing it. It just gives it a better flavor. When you make this applesauce, you might want to try different varieties of apples and mix them together to see how you like it. It may taste fabulous. Now, in order to get these apples to make sure they were 7 pounds, I just hopped on the scale without picking up the bag, you know, how I am now, and then get back on and hold a bag to guess the weight. I do have a digital scale. I need a new battery for it so that I would know what the weight would be. So the first thing we need to do is we need to go ahead and wash these apples. And I'm going to go ahead and go over here and I'm going to wash them, and then I'll show you what we're going to do next. I have put the apples in the sink, and as you can see, I have washed them. That's what we're going to do. Wash them all. I would have a bigger bowl, but my bowl is in the dishwasher. So we're going to try this. So next we're going to go ahead and cut these apples up. Now I'm cutting the apples up. We are going to go ahead and leave the peel on. So I went ahead and just cut all the sides. And again, we don't want the core. I'm going to put the cores down in a bag and save them to feed our deer that walk across the parking lot and our property. So I'm going to go ahead and put all these cut up apples into a bowl over here. Well, the apples are all cut up and I've got them in the sink now. I went ahead and put on some fruit fresh here. You can get this at your local food store in the canning department. And I actually didn't measure it, but usually I'd put anywhere from 1.5 teaspoons to 2 teaspoons. But what I did here is I put a little bit of apples in a bowl, and then I kind of sprinkled around till I got all the way up to the tippy of the top of the bowl. And I'm going to let this sit at least 5 to 10 minutes, and then we're going to go ahead and put it in our pot on the stove, and we're going to go ahead and cook these apples. This will help it so that it doesn't turn brown. I noticed if I didn't use the fruit fresh when I made the applesauce, after I cooked it, it didn't seem to be that nice, vibrant color that you would see. And this was not right away. This was like a couple weeks down the line. But if I used the fruit fresh, it stayed that nice, true looking, fresh, light color that it should be. Okay, we're ready to go ahead and put those apples in the pan on the stove. But first we're going to go ahead, and I'm using apple juice. You don't have to get organic, but I really like this one the best because it's a different variety of apples. If you make your applesauce with apple cider, it is excellent. But I'm using apple juice. So we're going to take 2 cups of this juice. Okay, that's 2 cups. And we're going to go ahead and put it in our saucepan here. And I'm going to turn this on at least to medium. And then we need to go ahead and add in a cup of sugar right now. We are going to cook on the stove the sugar in the apple juice until it is completely dissolved. And when it's completely dissolved, then we'll go ahead and add in our fresh cut apples. The sugar is all dissolved. I have it on about medium low, and I've been stirring about constantly so we wouldn't want the sugar to burn on the bottom. And now we need to go ahead and add in the apples. I've added in all the apples and I've stirred, to incorporate from the bottom to the top. And I'm going to go ahead and turn up the heat to medium-high, and we are going to want to keep on stirring constantly because we don't want it to burn. We want it to start boiling. When it starts boiling, then we'll go ahead and put on the lid, and then we will go ahead and turn down the heat to about medium, between medium and low, between low and medium, around there. And we are going to steam the apples for between 15 to 20 minutes. My apple juice is boiling. You can hear it. I'm going to go ahead and put on the lid. I'm going to turn down the heat to about medium. I'm going to stir occasionally. We're going to put, like I said, we're going to put the lid on, and we'll check back in here in 15 minutes and see how they look. As you can see, the apples are cooking up nicely. It still has a few more minutes. I'm going to put the lid back on, and hopefully it will shrink down some more. Remember, our apples were like almost up to here. You are really going to need a really, really big stock pot to do this apples in. I forgot to say that. Having 7 pounds of apples, that's a lot, and it definitely needs a big enough pot for it. The apples are all done. As you can see, it has definitely made them soft, and that was the goal, was to have really, really soft apples. And again, it was all the way up here, and it shrunk all the way down there. So now I'm going to go ahead and put the apple mixture through a sieve. Well, the apples are all cooked, and they are all done. And so I have them in a sieve. Now you can use, if you have one, you can use a food mill. This is a food mill, and you take the hand crank and you go down, and it has different discs for the size to, we're trying to get the apple, the inner part of the apple, and leave the skins. So I've got the sieve over a bowl here, and I'm just going to press down. The reason why I'm using a sieve is the applesauce will be a consistency of like almost baby food, will be extremely smooth, and I really like it that way. If I use the food mill, the consistency of the apple sauce ends up being almost chunky, and I just don't really want the chunky. By pressing it here, we're just going to be pressing it as much as we can to get the stuff here, and as you can see, it's going in there. You can see it dripping, and I'm going to do that all the way through the apples. Yes, it is a little time consuming, but it's worth it. The applesauce, when it's finished and done, it's going to have a little pink tinge to it because we cooked it with the apple skins on. So I'm going to go ahead and keep on doing this and get through this, and then I'll show you the next step in this applesauce that we'll be doing. I just wanted to show you a little bit more up close. Sometimes it's hard to see with the camera being all the way over there. But as you can see, I'm pressing it through, and there is that applesauce. And you can see how smooth and nice it is. And again, you can see the color there. I don't know if you can tell on the camera there. It is a little pink there. I'll finish doing the rest of them. All right, the applesauce has all been squished through the sieve, and as you can see, it is pretty thick. We're going to go ahead and add in another ½ a cup of granulated sugar. And we're going to stir that. We're wanting the sugar to get all cooked up into the sauce. We're also going to add in 2 tablespoons of fresh lemon juice, which I've already measured there. And I have the heat on medium, and we're wanting it to boil a little bit. And we could make it a little thicker. It is thick right now, but I'll probably boil it and set the timer for at least 5 minutes, no more than 10. If your sauce was runny, then you can boil it 10 to 20 minutes. Once you get it boiling, then you can reduce the heat. And as it, boils, it's going to get thicker. But as you can see, this is pretty thick sauce. Applesauce is all done. I ended up boiling it about 6 minutes, and the sugar is all dissolved. So I'll go ahead and put it into my jar so we can get ready to water bath it. I just wanted to show you how I filled the jars. This is the applesauce, and we want to have it filled under right here. You don't want to go really any higher because it just may overflow and then it may not seal. And I went ahead and wiped down the whole entire around the side of the jar, even though I used the blue thing that fits in there for the jar to be pouring, so it wouldn't go on there. It still went on there. And I made sure this top rim too was wiped down, so that way we can go ahead and put on the seal. And now we're gonna go ahead and water bath these. I've got my pot going right here, and we are gonna water bath these for 20 minutes, and then it should be totally done. So let me go ahead and I'll put on the seals right here. Okay. All right, I'll go ahead and put that in the pot, and then everything should be done. Applesauce is all done. I forgot to show you guys something. Do you see right there that's actually in the jar? There's a bubble in there. So actually, after I filled the jar with the applesauce, I was supposed to take a non-metallic spoon, you could use a plastic one, and you stick it down in there and you scoot around in the jar so that you release the air bubbles so you wouldn't have a pocket like this in your jar. I mean, for my family, they could care less because they're going to eat it. But like if you were wanting to give it to someone as a gift, you may not want that in there. So next time, just use the spoon. Well, the sauce is done. As you can see, it is a pink consistency color. Again, because we cooked it with the peels on, it would be slightly pink. It is an excellent sauce. The first time I served it for my family, my son-in-law and my daughter were scared to death to eat it because they thought it was some kind of pink grapefruit because it was pink color, but it is an absolute fabulous sauce. So let's go ahead and try it. Again, look how thick it is. It's barely coming off the spoon. And it is hot. Now that is some good stuff. Now I like mine like on biscuits. You could put it on chicken, maybe even ham, or just on a side. Now by canning it, it should stay good for at least a year. Canned, that's if it lasts that long. My family seems to go through it quite a lot. This was Karen with Living Our Dream Homestead. I hope you have a good day.